You can listen to a poet or you can go and watch the belly dancers. I would be in with the belly dancers. But anyway, for those of you who've actually chosen to stay here and listen to some poetry, I hope I don't disappoint you. Maybe I'll get the attention later. You want the poetry? Hey! Anyway, I'm clutching a set list here like a comfort blanket. Are you my audience so far? Anyway, I recently became a grandfather. This is not true, actually. My grandson was a year old recently, and I wrote him a poem for his first birthday, and I'd appreciate any feedback. It goes, earwigs are things that children fear. They think they crawl inside your ear and slowly start to eat your brain, turning you slowly insane. Well, I'm telling you this isn't true. Earwigs mean no harm to you. They don't eat brains, you can relax, for earwigs only eat earwax. Do you think you'll like it? Yeah, there's another verse, it goes, where it sort of goes, and with surgical precision he will make a neat incision right into the jugular vein, where he'll slowly begin to drain that warm, fresh, sticky red blood to stain his wildwood chin. But I'm going to leave that till he's maybe at 9 or something. Anyway. Anyway, it's fantastic actually to have a grandson, because my children are all grown up, but when they were young we used to have impromptu poetry workshops in the front room, and the local children all called me the Poet Man, and we had a lot of fun, and they went to school and they told all their teachers, oh, we've been making up poems with the Poet Man, and the teachers all said to me, come along Ron, we've got to hear these poems, and I was like, oh yes, no problem, come along, yeah, no problem, and I never did it. But here's a sample of some of the things that the children came up with. Why is it my teacher's breath reminds me of the smell of death? The rotting remnants of his meals stick from his teeth like leaves on trees. Why does he have to tower over while his breath just overpowers you, making you feel sick? And here's another one. How does Miss Pilkington get the bottom of her hair black when it's white across the top, the sides and at the back? And a lot of people seem to think Miss Phillips is a hippie, but they might just miss the point that she's completely dippy. She teaches dance and how to prance about like an Egyptian, arms askew, armpits in view, showing signs of perspiration. I love that. Hey, ripples of applause. Hey, imagine if your body was just a head and foot, then your sock would also be your trousers and your shirt. Now, only a child could think of that. Imagine if your nostrils were full of cream cheese. You'd have something to spread on toast every time you sneezed. And imagine if you had a claw growing out your thumb. You'd need to be real careful when you wiped your bum. Now, at this point in time, you can actually tell the boys are getting involved, because I only had girls, but various boys got involved. And of course, when the boys get involved, it all descends into the toilet. And it's sort of, oh no, Josh is going to the loo and he's always missing the pan. Well, said Josh, what else can I do when my willy is a watering can? Another young lad came along. He was very talented indeed. And he came up with this one. It was the night of Halloween when witches and breeches ruled the scene. William Sharkey dressed up to a T to go out trick-or-treating. He dressed up as a witch in a black plastic bag with a round pointy hat of a cardboard type. On his legs were blackened hose, and he put a wee mustachio under his nose. But what Liam didn't know, it was the phantom mustachio. Where does it go? Under the nose. What does it do? It grows and grows. When will it stop? Nobody knows. The phantom mustachio grows and grows. By the time they'd knocked on the very first door, the moustache had sprouted handlebars. By the time they knocked on number 2, on his chin was a wispy goatee too. By the time he knocked on number 3, the moustache had turned to a full-grown beard. And by the time he knocked on number 4, Liam wasn't a boy no more, but a full-grown grizzly bear, and nobody would dare to defy the phantom mustachio. Where does it go? Under the nose. What does it do? It grows and grows. When will it stop? Nobody knows. The phantom mustachio grows and grows. Hey! Oh, come on, give me some applause here. Is anybody actually listening to it? I know you've all got some important things on your minds. Yeah. Well, you should have some light relief in the middle of all this seriousness, to be honest. You know what I mean? Chill out, innit? Bloody right. You know? This is one that I wrote. I was working for this man and I was cleaning out his drain, and it was the most disgusting drain. We lifted up the drain cover, and it was just completely compacted with rotting feces and bits of toilet paper and stuff. And it was actually plopping like this. Plop. And we got this stick and we stuck it in like this, and it just went, and we hit the bottom there, and it was disgusting. And we dug all this drain out. Now this man was incredible, because he had these wonderful dreadlocks and he had this hat on, and all these dreads. And then he took his hat off, and it turns out he's got the most elaborate comb over in history, right? 'Cause he's got like one little bit of dreadlock all the way round, and he's picked a bit up and he's twisted it round, and he's put his hat on top, and maintains the appearance that he's got a full head of hair. So I wrote this. It was actually one verse of a poem called Auto-mono-pyromegalodipsocleptomaniac, the nutter on the bus, the loony in the queue, standing there with a microphone standing right in front of you, which is actually longer than the poem, the title. And it says, I saw a balding Rastafarian and I asked him how it works. Do the hairs fall out individually or come off in old locks? I asked him if he's older, he'll put them in a parting and drape a lock over his bald pate like a Rasta Bobby Charlton. I like that, actually. And here's another one, another quick poem written about a friend of mine who was a rave promoter, a very successful rave promoter, and so successful, in fact, that Second Sight, which is a programme for pensioners, came visiting the rave. And he was standing outside the rave, and his spiel was basically age need be no barrier to having fun and all this sort of stuff, and his party's practically populated by pensioners, and get on down there and have a rave and all this sort of stuff. And they put his name up and they put his age up, and he'd actually knocked 6 years off his age. And I thought that was quite funny. So on the occasion of his 40th birthday, which was almost a decade ago now, a long, long time ago, I wrote this poem. I think he's still claiming to be 39 as well. Hello Mark, it's your birthday, but no one's to be told. Over 35, people on Jive can't be 40 years old. But there's something that's confusing me, and I don't know what to do. How am I supposed to behave when I'm at your rave now that I'm older than you? Thank you. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. You've been a wonderful, beautiful, giving audience. You really have. It's like sucking in this energy from you. Fantastic.
I heard a lovely joke about management consultants that summed it all up beautifully. It's a story, but it was about a boat race between the National Health Service and a Japanese crew. And both sides practiced long and hard, as you can imagine, to win the race, and the Japanese won by a mile. So they called in, for the NHS, they called in management consultants. And the management consultants reported that the Japanese had 8 people rowing and 1 steering, and the NHS had 8 people steering and 1 rowing. And therefore they suggested that the NHS crew be completely restructured, with 3 assistant steering managers, 3 deputy steering managers, a director of steering services, of course, and the rower be given an incentive to row harder. And so they had another race, and this time the Japanese won by 2 miles. So inevitably they laid off the rower for poor performance, obviously, and they sold the boat and used it for a higher than average pay award for the director of steering services. Look, let's use a little bit of humour. I'm not as good as the stand-up was just spoken, but this is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And then they say we're saving £300,000 by doing it. Well, how much are we spending every day killing Iraqis and Afghans? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And this connection between public services and war is one we ought to make.